Hello, people who decided to actually stay to the end. Yay! We're in for a treat, because those of you that don't know Mike, well, I apologize in advance.
Awesome.
I don't think he's drunk enough yet, but we'll see if we can get
Get him a
him.
drink.
I concur.
Enjoy.
Oops.
Look up for the donkey.
Hello everybody. I'm Bonova. How are you?
We're giving out prizes right after you're in here, so if you want something, be here. Bye.
Any more interruptions? I can start now. So, welcome to my talk. It's called Security Counterknowledge, and there's a picture of a fishing net, which will be explained directly. So, who am I? Well, I'm from the UK, which is why I sound a little bit funny. I also am slightly hungover, which is why I sound even funnier. I co-founded a company called efficacious Research. I ran here on occasion. This is my third time here, and it's the third time it's been going, so maybe there's a pattern emerging, who knows. And I'm actually more pissed off than I look, which is pretty impressive, bearing in mind that I'm wearing a pink shirt with the words "Little Princess" written on it. So I'm a pissed off little princess. So, I'd like to begin with a couple of quotes. I put this talk into a conference called B-Sides Lisbon because they told me to put in a talk. They actually personally invited me. They then sent me back some nice anonymous feedback. First one I liked was, does he even want to talk about anything? Well, yes, I do. That's why I put in a fucking submission. My next one was that, not interesting. If I want to laugh, I can go watch a comedy. Which is nice because, you know, at least I entertain people. And because of that wonderful, wonderful fucking feedback, I'd just like to extend a very, very large thank you, or fuck you, to B-Sides Lisbon. Because if I was a new researcher, that shit would have been devastating. So if you're ever in a position to review submissions for a conference, always invite me because otherwise I'll make you look a dick internationally. So, why is there a picture of cross-site scripting? Because I am the amazing one-trick pony boy. And every year I come here, I always find cross-site scripting. And I always find cross-site scripting in the same fucking places. Namely, downtown Grand Rapids. They have cross-site scripting. Experience Grand Rapids have cross-site scripting. Ride the Rapid, which is still not a porn film, but should be, has cross-site scripting. And so I'd like to extend a happy birthday to those three organisations, because for 3 years running, I've told them they have cross-site scripting in the same fucking town that they're in, and they've not listened in 3 years. Which brings me on to my next one, and I apologise to the individual who I've already spoken to about this, but mytechnews.com have a sequel error in the fucking raw. Welcome to 2000, ladies and gentlemen. We are now 13 years in the past. I have the amazing power to time travel using a single fucking quote. So, before I begin, if you're offended by bad language, then you need to fuck the fuck off. This is not the talk for you, you nice, gentle individual. If you're a security professional, you might want to fuck off. If you're apathetic and bored, you might want to fuck off too. And if you expect cogent argument from a hungover Brit, you definitely should fuck off. So, what am I going to be talking about? Well, I'm going to be talking about Abby Hoffman, because he was funny. I'm going to be talking about Charles Manson, because he was funny too in a certain way. I'm going to be talking about control, and I'm going to be talking about money. And other shit too. So, what is counter-knowledge? Well, science is fun. Science is great. Science can actually, you know, save your life and shit. Now, where does science come from? Well, the Enlightenment sought to explain and reform society through reason, which was proven by a repeatable scientific method. Unfortunately, we now live in an age where that shit's gone out of the window, And that's why we have homeopathy and firewalls. Because science doesn't work, and we don't apply it anymore. And as I say, as an industry, we're not immune. We have lost our way. We're babes in the woods that have wandered off and are buying IDSs and shit. Before I go any further, I need to make something very, very plain. This shit here, not right. I love all you people, you paid lots of money, you're very nice, you support this event, you've probably provided some of the budget to allow me to get drunk, so you're all lovely. All you people behind, however, no, step over the fucking line. If you want power, go and take power. They can't take the power from you. You are the 99%. Too slow! Ha! Ha! You can't hit me, I'm graceful. You'll get tired before I do. Okay, he's escalating. So, two parts to this talk. One part is really good, one part you're going to get really fucking annoyed at me. And I don't care. So, when you are asked how to describe yourself by somebody other than your mother who knows all of your secrets, including that time you were masturbating in the bedroom, what do you actually say in response? Do you say, I'm a security consultant? I'm a professional. You can trust me with your infrastructure. Do you say you are an InfoSec professional, or even worse, a rock star? Ladies and gentlemen, I have seen security rock stars. They are not real rock stars, and neither are their fucking groupies any good. Are you a hacker, one of the terrible people who lives on the villainous outer rims of the internet and hangs around in Tatooine bars? Are you a wannabe? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm a wannabe. I'd love to be a professional. Unfortunately, I'm not. I'm me. Or are you a thought leader? You lead thoughts like fucking Pol Pot. That's what you do. Have you, however, ever described yourself as a fucking serf who's owned, bought, and sold? Because that is what you fucking are. I am too, and there's nothing wrong. The first solution to a problem is admitting you have one. So, this industry that we all try working, I hope anyway, is a joke. It started as a joke. That's where it's from. And you've all fucking forgotten this when you got professional. But before I explore that, let's look at some history. The 1950s gave the world Elvis. They also gave the world Buddy Holly. I mean, come on. A rock and roll singer from Dallas with glasses? That doesn't work. Yeah, they also gave the world the Tech Model Railway Club at MIT. The term hacker was used in its proper context, e.g. people finding solutions to problems. Like, how do we get access to that locked room? Pick the bitch. How do we get access to that mainframe? Hack the bitch. That's what the term means. And you can also play Pong on oscilloscopes, which is fun. The 1960s had the counterculture, and things got really political with a big P. It was like the only time in American history, kind of, where people actually gave a fuck about each other, from what I can tell. There was lots of experimentation with new communication, and people protest. And then you got coercion, and Jerry Rubin went on to be a stockbroker, and hippies sold property, and hippies bought property, and the world turned back to the same way it had been in the 1950s. Talking about the hippies, you don't know about it. And it's American history, so maybe you don't, which is why I'm having to explain it to you. New Year's Eve, 67, people got stoned, and the hippie movement started. Basically, what people wanted to do was react against students for a Democratic Society and all the preachiness of the New Left, and actually just have fucking fun, because, you know, fun is fun. Talking about fun, they actually managed to shut down the stock exchange for pretty much an entire day. And how did they accomplish that? Because they had $300 in single dollar bills and went to the public gallery and threw it into the pit. And all the little men that were running around, because it was men then, because it was the 60s and shit, trying to run the world and sell millions and millions of dollars worth of stocks, went ape shit and started running around after single dollar bills. It was beautiful. Another thing they did, which was equally beautiful, is it was decided that the Pentagon was a magical object because it had 5 sides. I did explain earlier that they were really fucking high most of the time. And when you're really high, that idea makes sense. So they got together, thousands and thousands of them, and went to the Pentagon and tried to levitate the bitch with the power of thought. And it may have worked. There are mixed reports, but there are people still alive that swear they saw the fucker move. Again, could be the drugs. 67, there was a pamphlet called Fuck the System, which was written by George Masetsky. George Masetsky, if you don't know, was basically a New York bomber that decided that what he really wanted to do was blow up libraries. Because, you know, he had an overdue fine. Basically, it detailed ways to eat and sleep and basically be for free, which is a strange thing to want to write about in the land of the fucking free. It went on to be basically for much of the material in the book, Steal This Book, which actually wins the best book title ever. Although, you know, you can understand why publishers were a little bit reticent to publish the fucker. So what? Why am I talking about this shit? Well, in 71, Abby Hoffman and a guy called Al Bell, who may or may not have been using his real name, decided to give the world, which originally started the Youth International Party Line. And that basically was a published series of scenes in which ways to rip off Marvel were described in intricate detail. How to get telephone calls for free using the power of your imagination alone. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and fucking girls, we had politically motivated activists before we had the fucking internet. They were there, they were playing with phones. So, finding new and inventive ways to interact with stuff is not new. We've all done it, that's why we're here. That's why we have wheels and fire and planes and shit. Political hacking isn't new. A guy called Johann Most in 1885 wrote a book describing how to make dynamite in your bathtub. Which doesn't actually work, but, you know, it was a nice idea. If the state exerts too much control over its citizens, eventually the citizens start to question the state. You know, change is inevitable. You know, because flux is a constant state. Now, I get to be irritated and take some time off because I'm quite tired. And this is the audience participation part, because I'm a lazy bastard. What are the things that you hate? We are going to have, ladies and gentlemen, a 2-minute hate. Because Big Brother had one, and I always thought that bit in 1984 was cool. So, in a couple of seconds, I'm going to stop talking, and then everybody shout out something they hate, even if it's me and my stupid fucking pink shirt. So, go.
Here.
Keep going.
Hair in my fast food.
Keep going. All out. This is fucking catharsis.
Back bosses.
Oh, Lord, you bitches are lazy. That was the quietest 2-minute fucking hate I've ever heard. And it wasn't even fucking 2 minutes. You bitches are lazy. Or sober. Or both. No more freebie for you. So, things I hate. I hate the deification of ultra-tech capitalists. I hate it. It pisses me off. I hate the myth of the internet. I hate the mass, e.g. all you people, becoming singular individuals. And I also hate change taking so fucking long. So, everybody loves Steve Jobs, or Bill Gates, or Linus Torvalds. You know, these people are fucking icons. You all want to be as rich as they are, as successful as they are, maybe not as attractive as they are, because, you know, a few issues there. The reason why many people have companies or work for companies is because they want to get fat, and they want to get rich, and they want to have nice shit. But let's look at the best practices of a corporate CEO. Factors that make a good CEO. They need to maximise shareholder profit with minimum expenditure. You know, that helps. They need to engender the loyalty of the group. They need to suppress actions that may be disadvantageous to the group or business goals. And they need to maybe impact upon change, depending on how much of a fucking conscience they have. This leads me to conclude that Charles Manson was just as good a CEO as Steve Jobs. That's exactly what Charles Manson did, and I will explain. Charles Manson ate from dumpsters for free, therefore maximising profit with limited exposure. He engendered group loyalty. You know, he had followers that fucked him. That's good. He suppressed actions that may be disadvantaged to his goals by chopping people's heads off. That may be bad. And he may or may not have impacted upon change, depending on whether he chopped off your head. Therefore, Steve Jobs, as good or as bad as Charles Manson. And they even kind of look similar, which is eerie. So, this isn't my idea. I gleefully stole it from John Manson, British writer. Read his shit, he's funny. He reckons, and psychological research bears this out, that as many as 1 in 25 CEOs have sociopathic or psychopathic traits, e.g. they lack fucking basic human empathy and the factors that make nice people. Now, as an industry and as individuals, we don't deify Jim Jones, you know, because of that shit in Guyana where he killed like 900 people with Kool-Aid. It has to be the worst party ever. But we do deify Steve Jobs, you know, who allowed Foxconn to happen. E.g. suicidal Chinese people going, I can't work 40 hours a day, I'll die. Fuck it, I'll kill myself. You know, there's a logical disparity between the two. How come, if you're a POAS, you get to be a psychopath, but if you get to be rich enough, you get to be an entrepreneur? How the fuck does that work? It's very odd. And how come, as supposed critical thinkers who hack shit and make shit and break shit, we accept that as fact? Now, this brings me on to the internet. The internet is like cake, and I have proof, because the cake is a lie, and so is the internet. So therefore, the internet is cake. So, and now we get to go sociology in a technical talk. So enjoy this, technologists. The internet is new shit, yeah? And as new shit, academics don't really understand it, yeah? And sociologists especially don't understand it. They largely agree that the internet affords users to impact on comms, to get involved in politics, to consume services and goods, to look at pornography, which is the important bit, and to cross geographic and spatial boundaries. That, happily, because it's spoken by sociologists, is largely bollocks. So, the internet, and the devices that are internet-enabled, is about two things. Profit, control. That's what it's now about. The internet comes from ARPANET. Everybody knows this. There are books written about it. And in the 80s, the US government, by way of the National Science Foundation, and private telcos, e.g. big corporates, got together and put all the networks together, and that's why we have the internet. Now, without government funding and private corporate funding, we wouldn't have the internet. We would not have the cake. The cake would not exist, because academics can't get shit built because they haven't got any fucking money. So, can you use the internet to foment revolts? Can you rise up as citizens and foment revolt using the internet? Yes. Can you use it to spread the message that you're trying to impart? Of course you can. Can you use it to masturbate? This is the best bit. Yes, you can. Rule 34. If you can think it, you can touch yourself in a special way that makes you happy. Can you use it to buy socks? Yes, you can. And can you use it to do your job? Yes, if you can stop masturbating. So, can you do any of that with any degree of anonymity? Probably not. Given what's been said about SSL, you probably can't get away with it, no one. Now, the media, and much of the wider population, especially here in mainland Europe and Britain, we don't give a fuck, because you know we've got cameras everywhere. But they're all shocked about prison. Everybody had a freak out. And you know, people are rightfully a bit pissed off. But you, because you fucking shouldn't be surprised. Who would have fucking thought it that a government-funded bit of technology was going to be used by governments to fucking spy, using their spy agency? Oh my god, what a fucking shock, however could it have happened? The internet is doing what it's there for, allowing for intelligence agencies to gather fucking intelligence. If they weren't reading your email or retaining your data, they'd be failing their jobs. They're doing what they are paid to do. Now, lots of tech talks reference, oh, I did it. It was fun, I got a minute off. Few talk about Huxley. Aldous Huxley wrote a book in 1931 called Brave New World. In Brave New World, he described a society that was avaricious, consumer-driven, where culture was trivialized, and everybody was fucking everybody else. Like, literally. What does that control? What does that actually, remind you of a little bit? It's the motherfucking internet. That's what it is. Look at the sites that are there. You've got Entertainment Weekly or whatever it's called, which basically trivializes culture at the arse. You've got Amazon, which allows you to buy all the shiny things you want. And you've got Playboy, which allows you to masturbate. Again, the important bit. So, earlier in this talk, I mentioned Unis. They were largely US in nature and had a US-based effect, e.g. shutting down the stock exchange. They basically disrupted trade for a day, which was cool, and they realised the idea of a free store where people get shit for free and there's no charity involved, it's just take what you need, and they dispersed information, which is useful. That's not unique, it's not common, You've had shit like that before. You have mass shared action having a tangible effect. That's why you're not a company anymore, which pisses me off, because if you were, it'd be great. I could make you do my fucking bidding, and then maybe somebody would bring me a fucking drink. Now, dissent, if you're not Arab, is dying. Why? Is it because people don't want change? Are you happy with the way things are? Because I'm fucking not. Is it because people get coerced? Is it because they get apathetic? I think that the answer lies in how we communicate as a group. Now, use of the internet has made everybody a one-way orator, and yet I am aware of the irony of that statement whilst I stand on a stage with a fucking microphone in my hands. Now, if you're remotely technically aware, you are also aware that you're going to be surveilled, even if it's just by Brian Krebs trying to write an article because you sent him some drugs. Nobody ever sends me fucking drugs. There's a public shout, and I have free drugs, because I won't write an article about it, I'll just use that shit. If you are remotely aware that you're surveilled, there's a little subconscious fear of talking about anything to anyone, because you know that other people are listening. Thus, what is in effect a technology for communication doesn't allow people to communicate freely. Basically, the internet has two rules. Shut up, spend your money. That's what it's there for. Now, if you isolate people from each other, a couple of really interesting things happen. They get depressed and kill themselves, which is cool because then you don't have to feed them. They stop plotting, which is good because you stay in power. And if you enforce or reinforce the pointlessness of protest, then, societal control just bends, it doesn't break, there are no revolutions. Look at the 99% movement. That was so fucking trivialised by the press. That actually was people trying to impact on direct fucking change, and Fox was like, fucking bunch of weirdos. Yeah? The internet is a really effective mechanism for isolating people. Events like this are rare, because usually we sit behind our computers. That's what we do. Also, cake is fucking tasty. So, a little segue, because, I can do that. My talk, my rules, don't like it, leave. As an industry, pen testing has been around since the mid-90s as a commercial offering. Earlier this year, in March, something really interesting happened. You had the Khan botnet, which basically scanned the entire IPv4 address space for Telnet and used default creds to try and bust its way in. And then once it was in, went off and scanned other hosts. That's what it did. It gained access via Telnet to 420,000 hosts. So, it also made pretty graphs which light up and everything is cool. So, what we had was an utterly illegal audit that was utterly fascinating. It was great, this shit should have been sponsored. We are, as an industry, failing, and we continue to fucking fail. Out there, right now, are 420,000 boxes with default creds on one port. Now, if you extrapolate how many other computers there are, that could get frightening. Oh, look at this. Thank you, darling. And it's even proper, see? It's real beer, not that American pish that you drink. Now, my conclusion, other than to take the piss out of breweries in the beer state, in the beer country or state or town or wherever the fuck I am this week. Thank you! My conclusion is that many people out there don't actually fucking care at all. That's why you've still got 420,000 boxes with open fucking telnet. Because people don't give a fuck. No matter how much you try and terrify them, people don't care. We fail. So, this brings me to part 2 of my talk, in which I actually talk about something shiny. And nobody else has been allowed to be told about the shiny thing, because I've not presented this research anywhere. And the only reason I'm presenting it here is because GrrCON's lovely, because they bring you Guinness. And that's why I'm doing this. This is called fucking payback. And you know, I get to share it with you people. So, what we have established thus far. Charles Manson is better than Steve Jobs. The internet is made of cake. And it may well be possible to levitate the Pentagon if we all just think really hard about it. Communication is vital. To effectively communicate, I would claim you have to be anonymous, or at least very careful about who you speak to. Numerous technologies are out there that allow for anonymous comms. Numerous technologies are out there that are supposedly resistant to network-based attacks. So, one way of doing it is via I2P, which was started by Germans in 2003, so 10 years ago. It's a network layer, and it allows users to transmit data in an anonymous manner, or sort of anonymous manner. It's message-based, but it's got full library support, so you can pretty much send whatever you want via it. How it works? You send data through nodes. Nodes encrypt, and they pack that data in both inbound and outbound network tunnels. Very simple. It's transmitted data, and it's terminated at the endpoint, and the encryption gets taken off. It's a network layer, and can be used with secondary software, because it's network-based. And as well as the network layer, I2P, like Tor, has got their own TLD.I2P, which are called EAP sites, which can be anonymously hosted amongst the I2P network. Addressing is resolved via a proxy, and it all plays very nicely. That's what the router looks like if you were to put it on your systems. Now, as a network and transit layer, it offers a strong degree of encryption, and it has anonymous routing-ish. But it has flaws. It's decentralized, and it's not dynamic. Data is passed via peers, and the way it's transmitted via the network is changed every 10 minutes, which means there's a transient tunnel trust model which is, there for 10 minutes. It's point to point, and there are lots and lots of issues with I2P addressing. See the stuff by Adrian Crenshaw. It's fucking fascinating. It's much better than this talk. This talk shit. You should go watch that one. You've also got friend to friend. The guy who came up with Physic Help, who knows how to write a spreadsheet, came up with friend to friend networking. So spreadsheets, anonymous networking. Yeah, I can see the connection there. That works. Now, that again is direct peer-to-peer network with known third parties, e.g. your friends. The clue is in the name. What you do is you use pre-shared information, be it a password, be it a certificate, and you use that for authentication. Lots of shit uses it. Waste, Freenet, RetroShare, blah-de-blah-de-blah. It sounds great on paper, but it's not without flaws. Users of F2F have no mechanism to establish who else is using F2F other than their friends. So, just because I'm friends with you, I don't know who you're fucking friends with. And your friends could be, I don't know, the fucking government and shit. In fact, there's some people here that probably do have friends in the government. And I'd like to say a very warm welcome, and I'd also like to thank you for the welcome I received, where Border Control went through all my shit for 2 hours. And asked such interesting questions, such as holding up a bottle of whiskey and saying, "What is this?" And the correct response to that is not happiness in a bottle. Also, when you are flying on September the 11th and they say, "What day is this?" the correct response is not Wednesday. Also, when they ask you what happened on this day, the correct response is not, "You got up, had some eggs, came to work, gave me a hard time." They get really busy there. Anyway, back to F2F, as my travel plans were, exciting. Basically, it's point to point, and as I say, you exchange data with friends, but you don't know who the friends of your friends are. Moving on. All data has got to be encrypted by the user at the point of origin. If you don't encrypt it, F2F just says, "Fuck it, send it anyway. I don't care. I'm just a protocol, I'll do whatever you want." There were attempts to mass market it as an idea, but basically they fell through. And a lot of the projects are now dead, or on their way to being dead, apart from possibly Freenet. And it's got a transient and neutral model of trust, because I don't know who you are, I don't know who your friends are. Brings me on to Tor. Everybody likes Tor. Unless you live in a cave, you know what Tor is. If you live in a cave and you're called Al, and your second name's Kaida, you again probably know what Tor is. It was originally sponsored by the US Naval Research Lab. 2002, there was an alpha version that was pushed out, and a guy called Roger Dingledine and colleagues. Roger Dingledine, I just like the guy's name, it's lyrical. Mr. Dingledine. Mr. Dingledine's Magic House of Emporium and Wonder. Step in time and inside children, we have anonymity, and routing, it is pretty. Basically, we pushed it out of Unix in 2004. So, you've got, about a 10-year-old technology now, and it's effectively about enabling anonymity by using open nodes or relay points. Now, all traffic sent by Tor is unenrooted. That's why it's called Tor, as it says, the unenrooted. Now that's communicated by, as I say, open nodes or open relays, and there's about 3,000 of them, ish. Basically, how the onion routing works is both the data and the destination are encrypted at the point of origin, and it just bounces around until it gets where it's going, and then the encryption is taken off it. Basically, Tor seeks to prevent surveillance by separating the identification of data and network routing, and with random relay. And why is there a reference to something called the Fast Show? Well, in the 90s, there was a TV show in the UK called the Fast Show, and one of their characters, because it was a comedy show, allegedly, used to run towards the screen very, very fast, and then go, "You ain't seen me, right?" And that's what Tor does. That's kind of its thing. Now, hidden services were introduced into Tor in about 2004. Hidden service is a server that's only configured to accept connections made via their TLD. When people talk about the dark web, and they talk about the hidden parts of the internet and we're all going to die, this is what they're talking about. They're talking about dominant zones. And there's some great shit on that. The coding forums are fascinating, if you're called Brian. So, Tor is not without its problems, ladies and gentlemen. We know this now. It was designed to prevent traffic analysis of data in transit. That's what it was there to do. In 2007, a Swedish guy called Dan Egerstad basically set up a few Tor nodes to see what was sent. And he saw some very interesting things being sent, like comms from embassies and shit. And he saw other people setting up exit nodes, like the US government and shit, and the British government and shit, and they could read all the things too. In 2009, Moxie, who was here a few years ago, used SSL strip to extract data that was sent via Tor, which was beautiful and made me laugh. In 2011, a bunch of French researchers at the CIA basically claimed to have been able to decrypt the comms carried via Tor. By creating a network map, they claimed to be able to extract the crypto keys and the seeds that were sent via Tor. Tor went, "No, you can't. No. But then last month what happened was a flaw was pushed out in the Tor browser bundle, which basically, by default, Firefox 17 had to have JavaScript enabled. What could possibly fucking go wrong? Well, what went wrong is you had Torsboy, which said, hello, you've got JavaScript enabled. Can I have your IP address, please? And the computer went, okay. As you know, Tor's anonymous. And nobody's really sure who did it, but, you know, we now kind of know who did it. Because basically, it was presented as a mechanism of finding users of child porn, which I actually agree with. If you're using anonymizing technologies to look at pictures of kids, then quite frankly, good. We found you, good. We can put you in fucking jail. This is a good thing. However, the same company that allegedly hosted lots of the document CP sites also hosted Tormail, which again, anybody who visited Tormail on their shit with Firefox and JavaScript enabled got their IP sent somewhere. Who could possibly be interested in Tormail? Who could possibly be interested in the activist sites were there? Who knows? Maybe it was the same people that wanted to look up predators. I don't know. In July this year, well, we heard about in September, this month, I'm at least fucking current, if not entertaining. The US Naval Research Lab basically did some research on identifying Tor users as traffic correlation. So the guys that invented Tor then broke Tor. So good work, guys. Took you 10 years, but you got there. Basically, if you have access to an autonomous system, which we'll typically find in ISP land, or if you can monkey with IXP, you can map routed traffic. That's its point. And that's what they did. And they claimed that it found 80% of all Tor users. Identified, found, know where they are, know who they are, know what they're looking at. They may have just have been trying to take the shine of prison by saying, look, we can do that shit too, and we're an US Navy. Now, nobody, of course, would mess with an autonomous system. Unless, of course, you actually went to the BDP talk at DEF CON, and now you know how to mess with an autonomous system. Or you were a government, because they go to DEF CON too, you know. Now, this leads me to conclude that, you know, would you, as a government, admit a technology to be opened up to the public from, you know, effectively a branch of the government, e.g. the fucking Navy, if you don't know how to fucking close it down again? I don't think you would. That would be stupid, even by American standards. Now, Tor is not a false flag. I am not saying that. Yeah? It is a fantastic bit of logic and a fantastic application of anonymity. Yeah? It does have shit wrong with it, though. And we're finding out that there's more shit wrong with it. Like the government actually know who 80% of people who use Tor are. That's pretty fucking wrong for an anonymizing technology. It's not an anonymous thing. It has failed. It has ceased to be. So, the internet pisses me off, as you may have realised, because it is in fact not cake, and I cannot eat it. It does allow me to masturbate though, so you know, it has redeeming features. Anonymity pisses me off, because when most people think about anonymity, they automatically think about child porn. And just because somebody wants to be anonymous doesn't mean they want to interfere with kids. And I kind of resent that fucking implication. You know, the only people that are interested in anonymity are terrorists, child molesters, drug dealers, or dissidents. Now, I'm kind of a bit dissidenty, as you may have realised at this point, but I'm sure as shit not a child molester. I probably will at some point be classified as a terrorist, and that will be hilarious, because then I get a free trip to Cuba. I mean, the random reaction you get to stuff like F2F and the fact it's struggling and nobody's taking it up is summed up beautifully by this statement. Why don't people use Freenet? Because I suspect most people don't like the idea of trading child porn. Well, I suspect most people don't know the fucking concept of not being able to be fucking anonymous, which is why that guy and anybody who thinks that can fuck the fuck right off. The guy's a fucking cock. You don't say shit like that. Just because I don't want the government or anybody else knowing my business does not mean I touch kids, and that fucking pisses me off. So, what am I actually shining about? Or what will I try and be shining about? I'm talking about something called a drift net. It's first discussed here, and it's first discussed now. Are you sitting comfortably? I hope so, because I'm about to begin. This is Julian. Julian's Australian. He's got shiny hair and thinks he's in the Matrix. And next to him we've got Bradley, now Chelsea, who, doesn't have shiny hair and doesn't live in the Matrix. He now lives in jail. But before he went to jail, Julian and Chelsea are friends. They want to communicate like friends, because they're friends and they get along. They're nice guys. Or nice guy and nice girl now, actually, but there you go. As well as being friends with Julian, though, Chelsea has an acquaintance called Adrian. And, he's only an acquaintance and doesn't know Julian at all. But they still want to talk, because talking is nice. And good things happen when you talk, like you go to jail. So they can talk. But it turns out that actually Adrian's a bit of a snitching bitch. He's actually a bit of a douche. So they don't want to talk to Adrian anymore because he's a bit of a cock. So they fuck him off, and then they can carry on talking. And then poor Adrian is so very alone, and everybody's left him, which is why he looks so sad. Although he has got an awesome couple of pimples. Just saying. Snitchy and acne-ridden, poor bastard. So, drift nets. They're a similar idea to F2F and ITP. They're very different things. Basically, what you have is you have something we're calling a revocation engine, which is in charge of the addressing of nodes and where shit be going. How it communicates is via IUP and HTTPU. We are the only company, other than Cisco and Microsoft, that have our own implementation of IUP. So suck it, bitches! We've been working on this shit for 5 years, in our own language stack, and with our own protocol sets. It took a long fucking time, and you do not know how close to insanity it has fucking pushed me. Now, nodes, which can consist of direct and indirect peers, hence the idea of F2F, can drop depending upon a trust model. Now, unlike ITP or F2F, drift nets are dynamic. The clue is in the name. That's why we gave it that name. That's what we were thinking. If you're a node, you can join or you can drop at will. If you're a trusted node, and this is the sexy part, ladies and gents, if you're a trusted node, you can create a net split anytime you fucking want. So if you're talking to Adrian, who turns out to be a bitch, you can just say, bye! Which is a wonderful idea. Basically, you've got addressing that's handled by a client. You have to do a client side install. I'm very sorry, it's the only way we could get it working. And it's addressed and resolved in the same sort of way as taught. So we've got our own, TLD, because we wanted to too, because we wanted to play. Now, because of the transport layer, e.g. HTTPU, that's HTTP over UDP, not TCP/IP, because TCP/IP can just suck it. We can send whatever we want. Any data we can send. You have a video file? Not a problem. We can send that. Now, how do drift nets drift? Well, you've got keys that are rotated by friends, direct peers. This can be done on a timed basis or on an as-requested basis. So, as I say, Adrian's an arse, let's stop talking to him, net split, done. Now, nodes can rotate keys and also publish revocation requests, hence, the drift net thing. Now, since you only rotate the keys with your friends, not your acquaintances, a remote peer can't actually keep a key and forward an incorrect one. Can't do it. Not there to do. Now, long story short, if you're a direct peer, you can force a net split whenever you want. In that scenario, the drift net hops, e.g. the revocation handler says to the client, well, we were there, but we're now going there. Come on, follow me, it'll be fun. And basically, it carries over everything and everyone, apart from unwanted third parties. So they'll suck it. Now, you can drift around. You can drift whenever you want by issuing a revocation request, or it does it as a matter of course anyway, just because you can't shoot what you can't see, ladies and gents. It's a good idea. Now, we have stolen a shit ton of ideas. Freely. I freely hold my hand up. We ripped everybody off that we could. Just because, we are lazy bastards. We stole the idea of the circle of trust. We stole the idea of onion style addressing. We also nicked the idea of onion style encryption because it works. So you steal what works. We're also doing a few things that are different. We do addressing differently. I'm not telling you how we do addressing differently because then you'd steal my toys. And fuck you work it out. We had to. We also do the circles of trust and revocation differently. Anybody can join anytime they want. If they're not recognised, however, there's a net split. So the government comes along and says, that looks interesting, let's have a look-see. They try and join as a node, of course they can, but then the driftnet goes, I don't know you, you can fuck off. Which, does make surveillance a little bit trickier. We don't have session state. I'm not going to actually claim that we did. But we do deploy and manage certificates carefully. That's how it works. We also have our own implementation of transport layer, and we also have the idea of nodes and the revocation engines creating net splits. Now, we also have a way of messing with traffic analysis, which may involve sending encrypted knobs, which may have route traversal information, which may also have the line, lol, just kidding at the end. Because, we're dicks. Now, what we've got, though, is a decent F2F implementation with a custom stack. And the important bit, the mobility of addressing over time, or as it relates to an incident. Shit be bad, let's run away. Now, what I think this means is you can't shoot what you can't see. Unless you want to get really fucking bored as a hunter, you have to be able to shoot what you can fucking see. Or have access to nuclear firearms or nuclear weapons and then you just press a fucking button and take everything out. I also think the public internet's fucking doomed. Absolutely fucking doomed. Because people are getting increasingly aware that it's a lie. I mean, I hope you are. If you use the concept of driftnet and addressing the driftnets, you can greatly increase the surveillance overhead. Really, really fucks with them. It's funny. You can also, however, reduce attack exposure. Because as an attacker, how are you going to attack what you can't find? It makes shit really hard. You can't just blindly send shit off because there's nothing to send shit off to. And if anything does ever tap it, you can just do a net split on it anyway. Because that shit happens by, default. And my other conclusion is we all need to be slightly concerned about privacy and thinking of new solutions to ensuring we stay private. What are we going to do with the idea? Well, we've got an internal POC. It's slow as crap and it's grungy and dirty and horrible, but it works. I'm proud to say it works. All of this is written in our language stack, our proprietary stuff that we wrote, because we're a vendor too, we've got to have proprietary shiny. And we're not sure what we're going to do with it, which is why I'm here. I don't know whether to make this commercial, which means we've got to provide support and do nice things like that, and fuck that, I ain't answering phones. Or we can make it open source and give it to you people, and you can have fun, and then I get to be called a terrorist and get a free trip to fucking Cuba. We're working on making something stable, and our hope is to get that out by the end of the year or beginning of next, depending on how much time we actually can, steal off our clients when we should be working on their shit. And we need to make absolutely implicit that it works, because if it doesn't work, then it's fucked. And I basically have wasted your time, which I don't like doing. I have wasted my time for the last 5 fucking years, which I definitely don't like doing. Now, I've got some conclusions. As security professionals, or fucking serfs, depending on how you see yourself now, or indeed just as people that give a fuck, we need to start speaking and thinking about privacy, and not just thinking it's for the paedophiles or the terrorists. Now, governments, whether they're despots or not, don't like privacy. Now, we also have to start using tech instead of letting it use us. And, you know, as a citizen of a state, you know, privacy is a basic need. This is why you live in a house that has doors. That's why you have doors. Which I find it ironic that the biggest OS is called Windows. It goes in the name. Now, you may have thought that you just sat through a sales talk. I used the word fuck too much for this to be a sales talk, so that's why you haven't. What you have sat through is our implementation of DriftNets. The concept, however, is yours. Take it, steal it, do something good with it, please. You know, I have no problem having a fucking competitor, be it open source or a commercial one, as long as it's doing the same thing and we get privacy back. So take this idea, please. Rip me off. This is an open invitation to rip me off. Because if everybody has a private mobile network, and I'm not talking about GSM mobility, I'm talking about addressing mobility. If everybody has got one of those, surveillance becomes really fucking prohibitive. You have to do things like go to telcos. And if you do things like go to telcos, telcos will tell fucking reporters. That's the fucking point. If everybody has a private mobile network, the attack surface isn't there. I can't attack you because I can't fucking find you to attack you. That's the point. This breaks our industry. Fuck you. I've made you all redundant. Ha! So, I reckon it's time that we all started shouting theatre in the crowded fucking fire that is this planet. In the crowded fucking fire that is this industry. We need, as individuals, responsible, ethical, moral, fucking human beings to start shouting theatre. And what you need to decide for yourselves is whether you're a fucking hacker or a serf. If you are a hacker, you get shit built. That is your fucking job. Fuck your house, fuck your car, fuck your boss. Build something. I don't fucking care. That is your job. And that is the message I'm trying to get across. You people need to make shit. The same way we make shit. Do it. Take it, steal it. It is yours. Be gone. I am done. If you have any questions, shout them out. I may or may not respond. In fact, I won't respond because it's 5 o'clock, so fuck you. If you have questions, come and find me. Oh yeah, I said it wasn't a sales talk. If you want to hire us though, you can. Thanks, bye.